Wait for him.
Alright, let's go to the jungle. We're cutting it up with Ethan Swift of Island Sharks Chocolate. Check it out in the show footnotes. Today's show is brought to you by Theobroma Cacao. Thank you, Theobroma, for being here on this earth with us. You know, Ethan's amazing. He cuts into it. You know, before we even started the show, he was dropping gem drops. So, like, you know, there's a little drip of that. And then we get into the show. Listen to this conversation and flow from the beginning to the end. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, or you can try to skip around in the show notes, whatever you don't want to do. But yeah, I recommend listening to the whole show.
But he was like, no, I'm putting on an amazing show for people. So I'm in the north of this like small town, and above me is country, and behind me is the jungle, and this island is the largest mountain from the bottom of the ocean to the top. It's taller than Mount Everest.
What? Okay.
So like, I'm out here and I'm on this giant rock, and I didn't even know there was chocolate growing out here. I didn't know how chocolate was grown. I didn't know what cocoa was. I didn't know it was a fruit. I didn't know it was a seed. You were asking about pawpaws, and so the first thing I learned was that, you know, you're fermenting the seed using the pulp. And so when you asked about pawpaws, I thought, okay, he understands if you ferment the pawpaw fruit, maybe the seed inside might get cured and you could roast it and maybe have a nice nutty flavor or something. Something like that. It could be possible. I don't see why it wouldn't be possible. Now, I think that with the connection that we have as a species to plants, that like we probably did it with chocolate because it was like the better choice. Like it works better probably with cacao than probably some other plants. So I've been looking into the reasons why it would be better with cacao than say pawpaw, and one of the main reasons, besides for its ability to ferment, is the amount of fat that's in it. Like that's where cocoa butter comes from. So half of the seed is fat, and I know seeds are fatty. I mean, like a hemp seed is all fat. Coconut's all fat, basically.
So that fatty fermentation.
Yeah. So what happens is the fat essentially gets cured. So it's the seed, the fat is soaking in alcohol in the first stage of fermentation. And then when you add oxygen back in, the seed gets soaked in vinegar because the alcohol turns to vinegar when the oxygen touches it. And so the seed gets basically sterilized and then cured. And so when you go to roast the cocoa bean, it's an inviable seed, is what it is.
Nice.
It's yeah.
So like, because it can't germinate anymore. I mean, it's fermented.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Like you can't plant your you can't get like some tempeh and pull those beans out and plant them.
Correct. It's already tempeh, basically. Exactly. And now the question remains, can you tempeh cacao beans and make anything? To which I don't know, because tempeh, I don't know if you've looked into it, is like super difficult to like make. You have to control like the exact temperature, I think, the whole time, I think.
Yeah,
a lot.
I used to make it on a farm in rural Missouri, like back in the late 90s. And I remember that was like when I was first hearing about GMOs coming, and they were concerned about it. But at that time, they were still growing their own and able to save their own seeds without worrying about cross-contamination. And so we were making our own tempeh and had these like whole entire like like little chambers. They were kind of like, in like hindsight, they remind me of like an Excalibur kind of thing, you know, that would help control the temperatures and all the different things.
Say that again. It reminds you of a what?
Like a Excalibur dehydrator. I don't know if you're familiar with those. They're kind of a common.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know, some kind of like system like that, but it was made out of wood and stuff. I don't know. This is like a while ago, so pulling from
Still,
memories.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
That seems so hard to do, though. I mean, I can't believe you. So, were you successful?
Yeah, they were. I mean, it was one of the farm, outputs. They were producing in excessive amounts of it and packaging it and selling it at farmers markets.
That's awesome.
It was a community situation, so we were eating it a lot. I remember learning I liked it like barbecued, and it wasn't like a completely vegan community, but we had all the different foods. We had cows, so there was like also like beef in the freezer and different cuts, and there was fresh milk every day, and there's peaches when the peaches were dropping and all the seasonal flows of things. And we processed sorghum and whatnot. But,
really?
But shoot, talk about this. Like, this is like you cut deep, like right back into like when the Elf was like early, young, renegade farmer cruising around the country trying to figure out the way, So, just like,
that's cool.
Yeah, let's bring everybody in here. They've been listening and tuning in, and having fun with us here. But yeah, let's all give a round of applause. We're getting down here with Ethan Swift right now. Island Sharks Chocolates. They got subscriptions. I do want to hear about Join the Shiver. And we're going to hear something about certified slave-free. Like, what?
Yeah.
We got domestic Hawaiian chocolate coming here, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. We got the Chocolate Sommelier School. Am I saying that correct, Ethan? Yeah.
Familiar.
We got Pono Cacao. We're gonna hear some about the process. Like we were just talking about some of the fermentations and different things. Relating them to other plants even, and we'll figure that out. But thanks for coming and checking out this show. Wake the Farm Up. Subscribe or whatever. All those things. Today's show is brought to you by Theobroma Cacao, the food of the gods. There's, different, decisions or like choices on when people think that people were first using it. I'm so curious to hear about Ethan's thoughts and feels on that. From what I understand, some of the earliest people known to be cultivating the trees were the Olmecs about 3,800 years ago. But then some say it was the Bara people who were first known to be processing it, which I found to be even curious. I'm just, so I'm the kind of person you guys know that likes to figure out, when was the time that we first started separating the hulls from the grains and different things, like what did that do to our diets and our fiber needs and flows? And I mean, like humans have been around for a while, and to think that it's only been like, that many thousand years that people have been enjoying chocolate.
Yeah.
So yeah, without any further ado, let's cut into it. Like, I'm gonna elf out here. Like, Ethan, like, what do you want to get into first, my friend? Like, where'd you come from into this whole chocolate situation?
Yeah.
You were sharing that you haven't been on mainland in a while.
Yeah, so I moved to Hawaii in 2011 to just like pursue music, and I had a surfing accident and I had to stop pursuing music. And so I decided to go back into business. And then I learned that chocolate was a food that was grown locally, and when I ate it, I, on the surface, got really high. And I thought that was the best thing about chocolate that I had experienced so far. After studying it for years and researching it for years, I realized I wasn't getting high. I was just on a super vitamin. I was just on the original superfood.
That's incredible. You were just, you weren't getting, you were just being on, like, in a mineralized body. Like, feeling the full energy of your being.
Exactly. And I didn't even know that, like, I was going in a direction of healing until, like, making chocolate became about making ceremonial cacao. and taking the sugar out and just drinking the cacao. And when I arrived there and realized that it's the same chemicals that are released when you're in church and when you're on antidepressants. And when I was on the farm in 2011, it took me to church,
Love that.
And I was like, this is where people should be, if they are wanting more out of their life, or if they want to heal, or if they want to celebrate something. And so upon my research, I found it very strange that according to your timeline, 38,000 years or 3,800 years ago, they were just using the pulp to make alcohol, and they're discarding the seeds. There was no chocolate.
What?
It was just a boozy drink.
Wow. I imagine
they still use they used it ceremonially, but it was alcohol. It was wine. It was cacao pulp wine for thousands of years.
Wow. So they just bottle that up and Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So the old bottles are what they test, and they can test for caffeine and theobromine, and so there's no coffee that was growing there. And cacao has so little caffeine that it doesn't affect your central nervous system.
Okay.
But you can still test for it. But there's no other beverage that has as much theobromine, which is the stimulant in cacao, and so it tests positive for theobromine. And so since they were traveling with it, they just assume it was fermented, because it ferments in the air. You don't have to do anything. You can just close it, and it'll just start bubbling. You don't have to add anything. So
you just
it's impossible to not ferment it.
So yeah, let's go through the process. So you're growing them, you're you're planting seeds and things and whatnot. So tell us a little bit about that real quick on the way here.
Thanks. I really appreciate that question. I was inspired by the farmer. His name Tom Sharkey, and he's the Johnny Appleseed of cacao in Hawaii. He got everyone growing cacao.
Sharkey.
And yeah, Sharkey. And
sharks. Stories.
Yeah, so that's why it's called Island Sharks. He's the man. I mean, if you know someone in Hawaii who's doing cacao or chocolate, they know Tom Sharkey. And he's getting old. So my goal, actually, I came on just to do help them create a brand for his son. And eventually his son walked away, so I just decided to take over the Island Sharks brand myself and got out of branding work, because chocolate's a little bit more fun than, working on a computer,
Yeah, totally.
So I was like, I'm just going to go all in on this and stop doing the design, stop with the music. And so now I've been all in on Island Sharks chocolate for 5 years, and
cool.
It's been my longest running business. All the other businesses don't last as long. So this is nice and sustainable.
Growing. You're growing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grow it. I'm growing it, and I like the opportunity to bring people into that state of ceremony. That I had experienced. That showed me that I was actually in it to heal, that I wasn't in it for a sugar high or just a chocolate high. When my perspective changed on what I had experienced, that's ultimately what I wanted for other people, was that perspective shift.
I like that.
And also I wanted to help farmers,
So you're farming it yourself too. I mean, I've seen your videos, we've been in connection somehow through Stefan, Stefan was connecting us years ago, just on the, I know you love farmers, you love to wake the farm up, and we've been connected, and that's so freaking cool. You're out there harvesting, you're gathering them with people, you're doing all the steps. You're in it.
Yeah. So it's okay. So it's farm work, okay? And then the other half of it is kitchen work. And most people don't know that they can't do both just because you might have the skill set, but you won't have the time. You know what I mean? You won't have the energy.
Yeah.
but you're like, oh, I can do both those things. So ultimately, what I've been doing is, small harvest, small ferments, so I can essentially learn it. I learned it, mastered it, then I just kept fermenting on a small scale, and now I do like 250 pounds every 3 months or so. Just ferment it, and then when it's dried, I'll have like 100 pounds left. So you lose like 2/3 in the fermentation just to the air. And then this is where it gets nuts, though. Let's say I have 100 pounds left from 250. Then I roast it, and then I take the shell off, and that is 30%. So then I have 70 pounds of nibs left, right? And then the nibs go in the chocolate machine, and I grind it with either the organic sugar, or if I don't add anything, it goes for like 30 hours, and
Just
like
whipping around.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like it's important that every bean has like a slightly different size and shape and variation, and every pod is a different color, and like the diversity is what makes the chocolate good, because in a chocolate machine you're melanging all the flavors into one flavor, which is different because we're not heating, we're not cooking. It's literally just blending different aromas. And so
Okay. Because that's the most distinguishing difference you find in them is there are different aromas. I like how on the bars, your packaging, like when you open it up, there's the tasting guide and there's like the aroma guides and all these like different guides, like all designed into there. And I love how it opened up too, like knowing you too. It's like all of a sudden there's you like standing there holding a cacao fruit too, like holding it out to you. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Like so, yeah. The aromas though, as you're making the blends from them, like do you actually smell the fresh beans like after you've roasted them, and that's when you're really picking up the different scents from them and can tell where you want to organize it?
Sort of. Yes. I think yes is the answer.
Yeah. Was that a question or like this is what Elf's picturing here? Let me tell you. Is this what's going on?
Yes, it is. So what I learned is that this is like from Tom and all the other people out here, Colin, who's went to college for this, and all the professors, and it's called a thing called a flavor precursor. So chocolate flavor only exists through heating. If you don't heat, you will never have chocolate in nature. It doesn't exist. It's only available through roasting. Yeah, if you heat certain sugars and certain proteins, they take on a brand new flavor that wasn't there before. And that's what happens in coffee roasting and cocoa bean roasting. And those flavors don't exist without heating.
So
technically it's just
that makes sense to me. Like there's I guess some of the things that we roast around here, there's the Kentucky coffee tree, and you can collect those pods. They look like giant peanut M&Ms almost, but they're all gray. And then you can roast them in the oven. Once they start popping, you pull them out and throw a towel over top of them so they don't pop all over your house. And then you just watch the towel like moving up and down as they finish out, and then you can like pull them out. And I've had them made and put through espresso machines and things like that, and it puts out an amazing flavor. There is no caffeine kick or any kind of thing like that, but I imagine it definitely gives a land connection kind of feel, a dark, like chocolatey. It's probably the closest to chocolatey flavor I can find here.
That's really cool. I want to hear more about that. It's not it's not mesquite, is it?
No, it's known as the Kentucky coffee tree. Yeah, I'll have to look up its taxonomical name.
Have you talked to Stefan lately, by the way?
Yeah, for sure. We keep up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I missed him this Christmas, but I'm happy to
Okay.
hear you still talk to him.
Yeah, you got to catch up with him. He'd love to hear from you. He's gonna enjoy. Like,
Cool.
I'm sure he's one of the people that'll
Awesome.
enjoy catching out this show too. You know.
Right on. Yeah, he's the man. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So, where are you exactly?
I'm in southern Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind
Okay.
of like this unheard of
That's right.
place, you know, like we don't get tourism or anything. So if you ever do want, like, you know, I share that with my friends that live in highly tourism areas. You know, if you ever want the experience of being somewhere that doesn't have that, come be a tourist here. Check it out.
Wow. Okay, that's actually kind of inviting. Like, it's only it's only tourists out here. It's like when Stefan left, he took all the like social life with him. Like everyone left it. Like it was crazy. A lot of people left at once, so it was like kind of shocking. I was like, oh wow,
like movement
that can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I know I got to be on the Big Island, Hawaii, this last year for the, you know, my first time. I got called over there to help a family that have a, you know, 20-something-year-old food forest. That was really cool to work there and be part of their family community situation, and definitely had some really incredible experiences with that island for sure.
Wow.
The second day I was there, I was at the farmer's market and people were asking me for directions. Like that's how at home I felt there. Like everybody just thought I was from there. And, you know, I kind of felt like I was just being in the present moments, you know. I was like, yeah, I'm from over, like I just walked from over there.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
From that cola tree.
Yeah. That's how it feels. It's like people come here and they're like, it feels like home. It feels like home literally no matter what building you're in. Like, you could live down the street. I'm in Stefan's old house. This is where I live.
No way, that's amazing. Wow, circles. So like Pono, like you're in, like, so that's in Kona, right? So
Yeah,
like,
Kona's on the other side of the mountain. I'm on the Gila side, you know, where you were on what they call the east side too.
Yeah, the east side. But so you have another group you work with is Pono Cacao.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
PonoCacoa.
Pono Cacao.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a non-for-profit.
Okay, so that's a group that you work with. You're on the board. How do you work in with them?
I helped found it like 4 or 5 years ago, before Island Sharks actually, and they were asking to, you know, essentially end child slavery, and they were people I met online who are in cocoa. There was a patissier from Belgium and chocolatier from Italy and a cocoa farmer from Ghana. And so he's the one really who set the group up. His name is Honorable Nelson Donquor. And he told me that he has to, when he's at the farmer's market, take money out of his own pocket to pay the traffickers money so that they stop forcing the kids to work, because the police don't do anything. So,
Wow.
I thought maybe like cocoa slavery was bad. I didn't realize it was just like walking around in common daylight at the farmer's market. But it's that bad where it's that normal
Right.
that it's essentially not even like the cops don't even stop it. Like they see when a child's not in school and he's working, they're just like, that's fine. And so, you know, that's kind of mind blowing. But there's a documentary called The Dark Side of Chocolate and a sequel, and his new one is called The Chocolate War. And I highly recommend watching all three of those. But essentially, it explains that there's 2 countries above West Africa that children are bought and sold and kidnapped and trafficked from, taken to the coast, which is where Honorable Nelson Donquor is. It's in the coast of Ghana and the coast of Cote d'Ivoire. And there's about 1.9 million children right now that are currently in this trafficking chain, and they get sent to the farms in Ghana, so they don't get back home ever. And so that's what makes this the worst forms of slavery out of any industry. It's worse than cobalt mining. It's worse than lithium mining. So first of all, those two things are only like 15 years old. It's also not considered slavery. That's considered illegal labor because the kids aren't trafficked. They have the option to go do something else. They're not necessarily forced into it. They're choosing to participate illegally. So when we get into cocoa slavery, the issue is it's actual slavery where children are not paid. They're as young as 4 and they're given machetes. And there's of course accounts of abuse and assault and beating and stuff, of course. And all of that cocoa that those children are harvesting, first of all, it is really, 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 really hard work. Like, you know how hard working on a farm is. It's that hard. It's no easier than that. It's that hard.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's as hard as you think it would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's as hard as you want it to be. I mean, it could be as simple as you want it to be.
That's true.
But at the same time, like in different environments, it can be limited more so than other environments. Like where I'm at, I have a lot of limitations just from seasonal weather patterns in comparison to where you are. Like you have a different seasonal limitations as well, and it's just like drainage, all these different things. Where you situate, do you have soil? And yeah, but either way, it's gonna be hard,
Yeah. It's hard.
And part of the life, of being an organic creature cruising around,
Yeah, exactly. And so the land out there, they don't have property lines. And so the children just wander all day long, all day, every day, just wander. And essentially, the 70% of all chocolate in the world, so if you go to the store, 70% of all the chocolate was farmed by children. It's illegally imported through U.S. Customs Border Patrol because there's a company called Cargill. Cargill is the largest privately owned company in the United States. It's family owned, and they're the biggest. And so they get to import this cocoa that's illegal.
Wow.
And they sell it to Hershey's, and they sell it to Choco Love, and they sell it to, Dagobah, and just all the, every Baskin Robbins,
and
Faeries, everything.
And
they know it. It's been going on for over 150 years. And so there's an international labor organization, and they're the ones that have quoted it as the worst forms of child labor, slavery out of anywhere in the world. So not only is it the worst, it's actually been going on the longest out of anything. Yeah. So that means it's also the most suppressed issue in the world.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think that it is? Is it because people just eat a bar of chocolate and they're like, yeah, too bad?
What it is U.S. Customs Border Patrol is not doing their job. And when the cocoa doesn't come to America and it goes to Europe, I'm going to drop the F-bomb. Every motherfucker in Europe who is making money off pastry or Pono Cacao, which is a croissant with chocolate in it, or Cadbury or Milka Bar or Nestle, chocolate, or Fries, the original chocolate bar in Europe, or Belgian chocolate. All of that is illegal child slavery, and all those adults who are paying all their bills, who are paying for their children's college educations, are taking wages from children who are in slavery.
Wow.
It's called wage theft. And the CEOs are doing it the most. So the richer and more privileged you are in Europe and America, the more likely you are to be participating in wage theft if you're in chocolate.
Wow.
Yeah. So the smaller the company is in chocolate, the more likely it's slave free. But here's go ahead.
Yeah. No. Tell us where we're going. I'm listening.
Okay. So in 2001, the USDA asked the FDA, please create a child slave-free chocolate label because people are just breaking the law out there. They can't even have it. If you have a Hershey's bar, technically I could call the cops on you because it's illegal. Like it's how Tony's Chocalonely was started.
No way.
But where I'm going is the Senators Harkin and Senator Engel. They were asked to create the label, and instead of creating the label, which they were given $250,000 to do by the FDA, they took money from Big Chocolate and Bob Dole, some information from Bob Dole, and they decided to let the industry voluntarily regulate itself for the past 23 years. And so the Harkin-Engel Protocol says that child slavery should end by 2014, which it did not. Then they extended it to 2021, didn't end.
What?
Then they extended it to 2025. Obviously, they've had 0 successful projects in 24 years, which means that it was a scam.
Wow.
Obviously, it was a fucking scam. It's voluntarily, okay? They don't even have to participate. They don't have to. They can choose to end child slavery in their industry according to the Harkin-Engel Protocol by 2030 now if they want to, or they don't have to. That's the law.
Wow. Crazy.
So, yeah, that's the law. So I was like, we need the child slavery chocolate label. So I made the label.
Yeah.
And now I just want to get it on chocolate. And guess what? A lot of less people are going to be eating chocolate. And it doesn't make me happy, but it makes me happy if less children are trafficked. I mean, I think we're united on that.
Huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
So tell me about the label. Like when you created the certified slave-free label, like what was that? Was there like a whole process to creating that?
Well, this wasn't that much of a process, really. You just have to get it notarized, and I got it appraised and whatnot. And I have a second label that is for chocolate that does contain child slavery. So this is all the chocolate should all have this label. It says this product may contain chocolate that was farmed illegally.
Wow.
That's all. Just slap it on.
Yeah. I like renegade stickers.
Yeah, it's a renegade sticker. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, you get it.
It's
And
facts, though, Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, people don't get it. And it's like Starbucks.
Even from when they get to talk to you, like who is so knowledgeable about it, like do you feel like when you get to talk to people and you're sharing the facts, like in the history and the stories, and like people still think that like they don't get it, like I don't understand.
Oh, well you have a cell phone, so so you can't put your finger.
So what?
You have a computer. I bet you have a computer, don't you? There you go. Your whole argument's blown out of the water. You're just as bad as everyone else.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, because you use some lithium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm as bad as someone who eats like 10 bars of Hershey's a day. No, it's not like that.
Yeah, it's like I got my app that helps balance my numbers and statistics on things like that, and I'm shooting for only 20 or 30 negative points, a day. It's doing better than I was last year, which was 120 points. Yeah.
What's your equity score, bro? What's your ethicality score?
Yeah. Do you measure up? Did you increase your agility points too? This is some D&D stuff, like Dungeons and Dragons points,
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Please.
Yeah, I'm like Arondir. Like, I think they should have given him a bigger part. I understand he was just like a warrior in the Lord of the Rings, but I feel like representation is important, and honestly, like the first thing you hear about elves that aren't, European is that they're not European. You don't hear that, hey, that represents other people. You hear that it isn't something instead of that what it is. And so I feel like Arondir, like I represent people who basically are told they don't get a voice. And after doing my ancestry.com or whatever, I found out that my lineage is actually from the place where children are trafficked out of, Burkina Faso and Mali in Africa. That's actually, my descendants are from that area.
Wow. Yeah.
Probably like 400 years ago. Like, I'm Dominican, so not. Yeah, I don't think they're in chocolate, but it's from they're from there. So I'm like, come on. Am I not going to try to free my ancestral children, like the descendants of my ancestors? Their children are in slavery. Like, come on. Like, am I the only one? Sometimes. Okay, this is what I hate. The fact that I just said, am I the only one? Because Tony's Chocalonely, that was his whole thing. That's why it's Tony's Chocalonely. He's lonely because he's the only one trying to fight child slavery, which is just bullshit. I'm not the only one. There's slaverychocolate.org.
Yeah, you're connecting the dots, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many other people, actually. And Corporate Accountability Lab and...
yeah, give a shout.
Shout out to them.
All of them.
They're taking it. Yeah, there's Corporate Accountability Lab taking it to Big Chocolate, representing some of the former slaves. Their case got thrown out of the Supreme Court, unfortunately. And Tony's Chocalonely is definitely gonna be under investigation for having illegal labor in their supply chain, even though they make the claim that they are child slavery free, and also claim that they have no illegal labor, but they do. So even though he started it out as he's the only one fighting child slavery, he quit. CEOs, big corporations took over, and now they're selling people the idea of ending child slavery. And they're not ending it because then they couldn't sell that anymore. And so shout out to Terry Collingsworth and the Chocolate War and Mickey Mastrati for all of his decades of work on the subject. International Rights Advocates is Terry Collingsworth's group, and they've gone after Big Chocolate already, and they have lots of documented cases of abuse and torture. This is child torture. Like, it's bad, It's as bad as it gets. You know what I mean? Of course it is. So the fact is, it's as suppressed as anything has ever been.
Wow.
Yeah. So if I have to be Aaron Deere and I have to represent the worst thing on the world, like, I don't want to, but that's my representation. I'm up in there. I'm the elf bringing the sword. I'm just here fighting. I'm gonna do my part. It might not be a big part, but. Do what I gotta do.
I got encouragement and support for you the whole time. Your energy is so elfy, and like, you grow in chocolate, and I know I called you the chocolate elf in some of our messages there, and like, I felt like you loved it, and like, I wasn't even thinking anything about ethnicities, like, from like, other than like, yeah, you're an elf that's so into chocolate, bro.
Yeah, no, that's my energy though.
Yeah,
like, I identified as an elf decades before I identified as like a African descendant.
I love that. Tell me about like when you feel like you first started identifying as an elf, because I feel like that's a question I get. So.
It's from a certain angle. They're just like pointy as fuck, and I was like,
pointy as ears. Look at sharpening his ears up.
Yeah.
So you can hear it. Yeah.
I love Lord of the Rings, and before then Zelda. I used to write Zelda fan fiction. I was Link.
Feeling all the elf stuff.
Yeah.
Love it.
I was Link. That's who I identified. I was on my adventure. It's gonna save the princess and. Use my.
I'm the link.
Yeah.
I'm the link.
What? And then I learned about radical fairies.
I just had to pop in here. Hey guys, come over here. He's talking about elf shit, man. Check it out. Okay, let's go. Hey, what are you doing? Yeah. What's up, Ethan? You the badass elf man. What's up? Making that chocolate, stirring that shit. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we'll get back into it. Wait, hey, get that elf Andy over here again. Yeah, where'd he go? I think he's over here. Yeah, we're fully grown, like, adults here.
Yeah, okay. There's the elves. You know, they jump into these shows sometimes, and I think they got just like a little excited, you know, with some of that elfiness in there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I hope so. You know, I like looking for them and looking for fairies and looking for gnomes, and they hate that. They hate that. I gotta stop. They just show up. You know, it's not like you can just make that happen.
Yeah, I keep hearing this thing, you know, like with wild mushrooms and stuff, they gotta find you. It's not like you're going out trying to find them all the time, you know, you're just going out and being, and then they find you. Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, I think they enjoy it too. They enjoy you looking for them and whatnot, and, you know, being curious, you know, it's just like asking questions and connecting, and there's so many things with it, you know, really, like we can establish, you know, like the cosmos is like vast and endless, and like the amount of dimensions and planes which can exist all at one time, you know, it's like, wow. Wow, I know.
Have you ever met any hyperdimensional machine elves?
So when I was like really young, I was like 13, you know, this story comes up in this show sometimes, you know, so like this is a fresh new little flow into it, you know. So I was like 13, I'm cruising out in the forest with some of my friends. My like folks used to drop us off and we'd go camping for days on end, you know, and this one time me and my friend were sitting out deep in the forest, and all of a sudden we started hearing all these little drums playing, and then all these little heads popped out from the other sides of the trees, and they all started making these sounds, and they were giggling all at once, and we stood up and we were like, yeah, I think we're gonna go back to the fire now. And like our other friends were back at the campfire, right? And so we started walking, you know, and then all of a sudden they all laughed all at once, and they were just giggling their heads off, and they were just like, it doesn't matter anyways. They all said it doesn't matter anyways at the same time. So we just like sat back down, we were just like cut into it with them, and it was this whole thing, you know. Imagine 13, so this is, you know, the classic, like, you know how the elf got the whole elf name here. It was like, I'm 13 and I'm trying to tell kids about this experience I had at school, and meanwhile they're all like, you know, geeking out like, what? I don't know if that could even really like they started calling me the elf, you know, and since then, you know, I love all kinds of things elfy, you know, and I've liked watching, seeing how, you know, the concept of an elf has changed over time, you know, and like the late 90s, there was all kinds of things for me, you know, with it. There was like there was the Earth Liberation Front. They were around doing some interesting ecological things, you know, anonymously taking out water bottle companies that were setting up shop on pristine waters and different things. And then there was like, you know, this raw food time period where I was cutting into it, where it was like early 2000s, and I was calling it the, you know, eat live food kind of flow for me. It was like my elfie eat live food, and it was really turning me into this like creature of the ecosystem and this animal integrating, you know. I was foraging too. I wasn't just getting like fresh stuff from the produce stores, you know, it was like foraging, and that's what kind of got it, you know, me really elfed out into it. And it is interesting, some people come to me with their approach that I don't have long white hair or something, you know, because they got this new stereotype that came some time period after from some movies that were made about what they were supposed to look like in the Lord of the Rings, and it's like imprinted on people. And, you know, it's amazing how that can kind of happen to culture and things. And, you know, like there's this whole different elf renaissance and what people's ideas of it are and whatnot. And I like keeping it open and expansive beyond the curated adventures from ancient books and stories that have been written and images that are made on cartoons and all the things.
Absolutely.
Like I'm not a Keebler elf, but I sure can make some cookies, you know?
Nice. I bet they're good.
I would live in a tree too. I mean, those are some cool elves, you know, but like, you know, I don't know, they went a little corporate, you know. Sometimes, you know, elves had their moments, you know. Sometimes trolls were stuck under bridges and they like to act like that. But, you know, there's trolls out there. They're running large world corporations and things like that now.
Yeah, that's right. They are. They're running the big ones. Oh, man, that's so good. I love the elfy nature of, you know, trying to think back to post Zelda, post Link, there was not a lot of elf in media, and like you said, there's a lot now, and it puts out these ideas of what an elf or what a gnome could be, and I didn't have those when I kind of experimented. So
That's what it sounds like.
it was easier to experiment, and on the full moon, I dressed up as a garden gnome with two of my friends, with a giant red pointy hat and like old knickers. And on several occasions, the three of us would go out and just hide behind shit in public and just gnome around and freak people out and pop up and run and stuff. And I realized after doing that, I am way too tall to be doing that shit. I am an elf. I am not a gnome. I can't hide.
Your hat's like sticking up really high. Yeah.
Exactly.
Doing some elf tricks.
No, I was like, if I was an elf, I could just stand here. I wouldn't have to hide. It's like, gnomes hide. Come on, and I'm bad at it,
Yeah. I've been.
You figure it out.
I've been noticing certain things like these. There's like these different characters that even feel them come out through different works and different flows I'm in, and probably even just because cob, the word rhymes with like goblin. You can be a Coblin. So when I've been building cob a lot lately with like raw clay from the earth and whatnot, I've been going into what I've been calling Coblin mode.
Cool.
But it's still elf and Coblin mode. I can't.
I like it.
It's just like it's like generation, and it's like you can't talk or do anything. There's mud, all clay, all over you. If you come near me, you're getting some. Yeah, it's fun times. Coblins.
Yeah, you're a Coblin.
I think if you recorded what I was saying in those time moments too, and then played them backwards at like a different speed, it would probably be English.
That's hilarious. That like all Elven is just somebody who's making cob stacks at home. Backwards.
Helping the cobbler. Help the cobbler out. Isn't that funny? The cobbler is actually people that make shoes, not cob houses.
Yeah. We have a cobbler here in Hawaii, and it's like, well, how the hell are you in business? Wouldn't you rather be cobbling? I mean, at this point, at this day and age, wouldn't we all rather be cobbling than a cobbler?
Yeah.
And a goblin?
Yeah, and like barefoot it out a little bit more and, make that one pair of shoes last a little while longer.
Exactly.
Maybe wear some socks or something that are like, fun and cozy to slop around in.
My old shoes from the 1800s are finally worn out. I need to replace the soles.
So yeah, we're totally elfing out here, like just like for our elfie friends, like there's all kinds of like elfness to us. So you had brought up a few things about cacao and mysticism and the ceremony. I'm curious about that, like some of your thoughts and feels on the ceremony aspect, and knowing how, I'm here in the Midwest where often I'm seeing Cacao Ceremony like being advertised and whatnot. Curious, like your thoughts and feels on like how that connects into the bigger world.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's the perfect subject to ask that question, specifically because the Mayan Codex was destroyed. The conquistadors destroyed their written history. So what we know of cacao ceremonies is very little of any of their culture, except what the indigenous people retained, of course, and then what wasn't destroyed. And that was that cacao ceremonies contained mushrooms. They would eat mushrooms and drink cacao.
Did it specify
what type of mushroom is not clear, unfortunately, but probably psychedelic, I guess.
And I can imagine like that could be regional too, and
I think the Mayan were like an empire.
Yeah, so there's like trade routes and all kinds of things. People could bring mushrooms from different regions and trade them and be like, yeah, these ones will like really open your 24th chakra eye and whatnot,
Yeah, there's couple Mayan strains of psychedelic mushroom for sure too that are like from the Amazon. For sure.
Okay, Amazonian.
Yeah, yeah, and they would also do human sacrifices and drink cacao, and make the person like drink their own blood in the cacao as they died, and it was also illegal for children.
Where do you sign me up, man? I'm just saying.
Hey, you guys like chocolate, right?
Rip my heart out. It's yours, man.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Exactly. Yeah, so it was a blood sacrifice. So it was a ritual. So that meant that you couldn't drink it under every circumstance. So women and children were forbidden to drink chocolate cacao at all. Only men could consume it at all. And because the cacao beans were used as money, like a bean was worth like $1 now today.
Like even with inflation?
With inflation, it's $1 per bean, which is I pay way less than that.
Yeah.
But, for beans, I'll pay $1 per bean. That'd be crazy. A chocolate bar would be like $100. That's what it was. Wow. So they used it for money, but they couldn't drink it. So the only person consuming it was like the leaders, and those were the people doing the sacrifices and rituals and stuff. So it was a strictly ceremonial thing that only the indigenous people know how often they drank it outside of those legal customs and traditions, right? So when cacao ceremonies got popular, it was because of online marketing and stuff, but people don't like that it's popular in places where it didn't come from, and they get upset when certain people offer cacao, depending on where they're from, which I think is, like I said, this is the worst situation for that, which is why it's the best question to ask for cacao, because since there's so little record, for you to get an actual claim of what a cacao ceremony was and recreate that exact thing, you would either have to talk to a specific family member who still has the lineage from South America, which is like a life journey. Like you'd have to, spend some time with research and find that. But they're there. And then if you don't want to go to South America, you should still be able to have a cacao ceremony. And people who don't think that are people who are just very territorial, and they think that culture belongs to them and them alone, and that sharing it in some way makes it vulnerable to being taken from them. But I've found that with cacao, since there's so little record of what could be taken from them and what was, unless you're talking to the family members, you're not going to be taking anything from anybody, because it's literally the purpose of the cacao is for anyone to be able to have a ceremony. Like that's the purpose. It enables a ceremony. It facilitates. It puts you in a ceremonial state of mind through the antidepressants and the calcium and the magnesium and iron and zinc and SSRIs and everything. And because of that state of mind, it feels like you're at a ceremony. And so telling people that they can't have that experience because they're not from a certain place or they're not in a certain place is just wrong, because people can, when they consume it with the right intention, they have the experience. People who are like resistant to mainstream America doing cacao ceremonies, they're just resistant to people experiencing cacao for themselves. And it might be because they think, they might not have the real experience, and they might not get to know cacao as well as I do. Nobody knows cacao as well as another person does. I don't know, music as well as other people. I don't know cacao as well as other people. There's no one who's an expert on everything, and it's just a zero-sum fallacy that's in some situation, because they're sharing their culture, they're going to wind up with nothing, and it just isn't true. And the plant itself, no matter what, if you drink it without sugar, you're going to be in a ceremony, whether you plan on it or not. So it's like a medically induced ceremony. It's like, and if you're like, okay, well, I'm going to try not to have a ceremony, sure, you can not have a ceremony, but it calms you down and it dilates your lungs and dilates your blood vessels.
Not
So like,
have a ceremony.
yeah, exactly.
I've
So like
never
you
thought of
drink
that as something to do. Like, I'm gonna go out tonight at 7 and not have a ceremony.
exactly. Because
I
someone told me
really-
I shouldn't.
I really want to say I really appreciate your answers and like flows into that thought. It's like something that you've thought about and have a lot of feels on, I can tell, and you're passionate about sharing cacao with people and having the experiences. And I do like that concept of even bringing humor to not having a ceremony. Okay, you want to have a not sacred moment while you're alive and intentionally make sure that it's not a sacred moment that you're just savoring and treasuring. Like, okay, yeah. I guess once in a while it's good to go and schedule in some time to just like be bored or something, but
No, it's like, oh, I'm going to the bar. I drank this cacao. I was in such a good, peaceful state of mind. Now I'm about to ruin it.
Yeah,
It's like, no, you're not. You're going to go to the bar and you're going to be spiritually aware and it's going to be weird for you.
Yeah, karaoke night is going to be a whole different thing.
Exactly. Your third eye's going to be open and you're going to be like, and he's working on the weekend. Like, what is happening? I could be at home sleeping right now.
Who's winning on the TV screen? What's the score, buddy? Hey, pal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so it's a stimulant, but it can also relax you because it has so much magnesium, more magnesium than any other food. So magnesium, when you have stress, you're deficient in magnesium. So if you wanted to eat the food that has the most magnesium, you would eat cacao. So it's the number one fighter of stress. It fights cancers, multiple different kinds of cancers. It fights COVID-19. It kills COVID-19.
Now tell me, like when you're talking about chocolate doing all this, like, and then there's the different worlds of chocolate. So there's like good chocolate, and then there's like bad chocolate. It's full of sugars and different things. That might not quite have the same medicinal effect, but still have some, huh?
So what happens is sugar tends to block receptors. It like coats them.
In our brains.
And then you actually have receptors in your stomach and in your esophagus, and they are flavor receptors. You have taste buds in your digestive system.
Part of the
They don't connect in your guts, but it doesn't translate to you don't taste, obviously.
Yeah, but you gotta trust your guts. You trust that gut feeling.
Hey, that's exactly right. Exactly right. So sugar covers those things up, and when you don't get the sugar, cacao goes all up in that, and your body's like, oh, I need to do something. So you can eat enough chocolate where, you get antioxidants, you get a little calcium and magnesium, but you still are blocking your receptors, which means that if you're eating anything else, salad, you're also blocking your ability to absorb the salad too. So just if you're trying to get the most out of your cacao, you need to have it without sugar, because you can't have a ceremony and sugar. That's literally the one rule, is you can't have a cacao ceremony and have sugar, because the sugar will ruin the sugar will crack your brain out and you won't feel peaceful. It just doesn't work.
Wow.
So you stop absorbing all those chemicals too. So when you have the ceremonial cacao and you have without sugar, you go to a different place that if you're eating sugar, you can't access. It's inaccessible. So chocolate is good, but cacao is just literally a different ballgame.
Have you found, I imagine from doing different kinds of fasts and cleanses and eating seasonally and just even the subtle effects that you feel from things by getting dialed in with it, is there a, kind of like a best practice that you go into when you like really want to drink a lot of ceremonial cacao?
Yes. First of all, shout out to Chris Kilham, the medicine hunter. He is the man, because no one else is brave enough to say this. Cacao is the healthiest thing to drink after H2O. So you might want to drink a smoothie. You might want to drink your supplements. Cacao is going to be better every time. So to answer your question, like I'm sorry, what was your question? I got confused. I got
Shoot, I'm gonna have to go back to the recording. I was so flowing. I'm like so
it's
curious.
okay. It's okay.
So like Chris Kilham, you mentioned Chris Kilham.
Yeah.
About how he was a medicine hunter.
So how you get it?
How you get to the point where it's the best for the ceremony or best like experience. You know, like you were mentioning not having sugar during it.
Yeah.
So maybe even like not having sugar that day, or like where are we at?
So definitely twice a day, scientifically proven to increase your count of stem cells that your body produces on a regular basis. So if you drink it twice a day without sugar, I would recommend in the morning and at the night, or twice in the morning. It's an appetite suppressant, so you don't really want to have it in the middle of the day because that's when you need your food. At night, you won't need an appetite, and in the morning, you can cruise for a while if you make it like bulletproof and put some MCTs in it, or you put some coconut milk or grass-fed butter, or whatever you do to bulletproof your coffee to make it keto. If you do that to your cacao, you will forget to eat, and it can be a problem. You actually have to remember. But the difference between what happens with cacao, which is you're doubling your stem cell count. When you drink coffee, your stress receptors that are in your brain, they go numb. Okay, that's what caffeine does. It just numbs your stress receptors. And what happens when your stress receptors get numb, they grow more. Then you have more stress receptors. Then when you don't have coffee, you tweak out because you get so many stressors. Yeah. And then all you can do is drink more coffee to cover up those stress receptors.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So it works. I mean, if I'm stressed out, I would probably drink a coffee. That's literally what it does. It blocks the stress. But then you're going to be like, oh, I'm fine. What the heck? I should go do this thing that I was too stressed out to do before. No. Yeah.
It kicks in.
It does. It's like
and then
you used to be stressed about.
Okay, then you ignore the things that might actually be stressful and don't create your own way to get past it. And then I'm just like, give me a coffee. Hey, I'll make it through the day. Let's pour another one.
Don't let my stress receptors become receptive again.
So if we are drinking something every day, like water, like cacao, definitely could be something that could feel that it's moving through in that kind of space too for somebody while they're letting go of a coffee habitation. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna try it. I'll let you know how that works out.
Yeah, because there is caffeine in cacao, but again, it's so little your brain can't detect it. It's as if it's not. That's how little it is.
I mean, I think that's where coffee's at for me at this point too. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's I can have it before bedtime, and maybe it relaxes me, whatever I want, kind of thing. And nice. I don't know, maybe I have some sort of mind control over it or something. But yeah, I might as well drink cacao too. Right now, I brew on top of the wood stove. I have 3-gallon jug, and inside of it, I got different mushrooms I've harvested. There's some chaga, and there's some turkey tail, and there's lion's mane, and different things of that kind of nature. And then I make coffee, and I make cocoa tea. That I had a big jar from you, I don't know. Nice. It might be before you were doing Island Shark, right around the time maybe that you were starting that or something. So it didn't have a logo or anything. You just sent me this big bag of cocoa tea, and I've been sipping on it, and it's so good. Awesome. To connect with you again on getting some. You shared some amazing stuff in the mail before the show. Just listeners, if you've made it this far in the show, definitely go into the show footnotes and go get you some chocolate from the Island Sharks. It's amazing. It doesn't taste like any chocolate that you would get at a common grocery store or anything like that. It's so good. It's so real. It's made by our friend Ethan here, and your partner. Tell us about your partner. Just shout out, some of these people that are making chocolate with you. In these growing this sharks.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to Sharks and Hilo. We love Tom Shark. He's our inspiration. And Nat Bletter at Madre Chocolate. He told me it would be cool if I started a chocolate company. It is cool. I like it. He was right about that. He's a PhD and he has like over 30 awards for chocolate. So I missed the opportunity to learn from him, but he was still put my butt in gear. So I'm super grateful for him, and I'd love to learn more from him. And my partner now is my partner at home, Jennifer Jones. I'm super blessed to be with her and have her. And she helped the business survive my spinal implants and my second spinal implants, and then my 2 years of recovery, or there would be no Island Sharks right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Takes a bunch of elves to keep each other going. Yeah.
Never heard that one before. I like that one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's like like I don't know. People say it takes a whole village or something, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the chocolate company is our baby now, you know, and it takes a village to raise that chocolate company, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
glad to be a Island Shark ambassador on the mainland, you know, or some kind of
part of the shiver.
I'm Elfie, so I'll give it a title. Why not, you know?
Yeah.
Come to my
I'm
chocolate
grateful.
embassy, you know, and we'll make sure you get sorted out on where the beans are roasting and all the things.
Yeah, that'd be so fun. Yeah.
So, like,
we have a lot of work to do.
So, something I know we haven't gotten into, you know, just like, I know people are curious about the Chocolate Sommelier School. Can we cut into that for a little bit with me?
Yeah, sure. So, the Chocolate Sommelier School is the only place to go to get certified as a chocolate sommelier. You can get certified as a wine sommelier a bunch of places, but the difference is chocolate is twice as complex as wine. So if you think it's impressive to be able to taste, you know, asphalt and white grapes in your Chardonnay, or chocolate and coffee in your red wine, wait until you can taste like orange peel and dark wood and lime in your chocolate bar. It is impossible without training. Okay. It's impossible without training.
Crazy.
But you can launch a career as a chocolate sommelier. You can host chocolate tastings online. You can use the information to ferment cacao and start your chocolate company. And it has all the professional resources for learning about human rights in chocolate as well. And it's super affordable, and you can go at your own pace as chocolatesommelierschool.com. And I'm your cocoa coach, and essentially you will go hand in hand and through the course. It's pretty quick, and question by question, and make sure that by the end of it you know how to ferment cacao beans, you know how to make chocolate, and you know how to buy certified slave-free chocolate, and you know how to taste like a professional chocolate taster, which is super rare, but you could be one of those super rare people and impress your friends.
I want to come. Can we do it?
Yeah, Elves love chocolate.
Yeah, we're all signing up. Yeah, ladies, sign up too. Set it up. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, check it out on the footnotes too. Yeah, I want to know a little bit more. Dang, tell me about this. Like,
all right, so like tell us. They want to hear more about too. I mean, like, I almost want to sign up for it just because I feel like it would enhance my poetry. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I mean, there's a lot of amazing words and descriptions, and combining them to flavors. I mean, it's a method of training or communicating with articulating the flavors and understanding them, and that's fascinating to me. That really, wow.
You said that so well. You said it so much better than I said it, and yeah, and it's exactly that, because like it does improve your ability to understand everything else. Like when I learned that when I smell like mushroom in my chocolate, it's a little mushroomy, let's say, that those are chemicals, and that those chemicals are the things in chemistry class that I was confused about all the time. And if they would have just shown me in chemistry in 10th grade that I was eating something that was in a chocolate bar, it probably would have made a lot of sense to me what chemistry was.
Yeah,
Make a lot more
yeah,
sense.
yeah. I mean, it's a chemical flow. Like it's a whole wow. Yeah,
Yeah, you're tasting chemistry. It's like the taste of chemistry. And what we're talking about in the very beginning, like where does it come from, and what other things can you make chocolate out of? In the traditional story, it was brought here from a flying serpent named Quetzalcoatl, who planted it. And so technically it came from outer space, but there are 20 other types of plants that are like it, that are either offshoots of it or came before it. But traditionally it came from a flying serpent, a dragon, if you will.
that's a
So sometimes I like to think I'm eating
wow.
aliens food, because it
Wow.
actually came from outer space. Everything came from outer space. Right?
Yeah, we're in outer space, right? This is it.
We're the aliens. We're the aliens.
Yeah, this is our spaceship Earth. It's flying through the cosmos. I like thinking about how big the cosmos is. Like every time you have like a creative idea, that it probably happened somewhere out there in the cosmos. Like I was thinking about
totally.
these giraffes that live in the forest here, but they don't actually. But I was thinking about how they could. Like there could be these giraffes that like nobody's seen because they're like invisible, and maybe I saw them because I didn't take a shower for like 2 months, and like their main sense is like a sense of smell, and they stay away from people. But like I was just like crawling around in the forest, and like I saw one or something. It's like that kind of thing could be real. There could be these giraffes that I'm imagining somewhere in the cosmos, right now, walking and hiding, standing next to a tall tree. Like, what?
Totally. And with that same logic, technically anything we think about any planet could also be real. We don't know that if I say a planet that's all made of, let's say, stormtroopers or something, we don't know that planet doesn't exist. Like, you can't disprove it. That doesn't mean it's not true.
I mean, even I don't know. I even feel the possibility that you just thought of it, so it does exist. So it kind of does call to the mind. Almost what you're walking into any kind of ceremonial moment, or like when you're really being aware and sacred in the moment and savoring the present. Like, yeah, being mindful of what your thoughts are, because they do create in reality. And it's like. So can you take a thought that you had of like these stormtroopers somewhere, but then all of a sudden you realize that they're handing out parcels of goods to like, help support the ecology on their planet or something? It's like all of a sudden you get this different feel of the whole planet and what's happening in the story.
Exactly. And this goes to your point exactly. Like when I'm in the moment, I like to think, what just happened first? I can't even tell. Did you have that thought first, or was I thinking that first?
Did you say that, or did I? Or did you? What is going on here? Whoa.
Yeah. That's like validation, right? That you're in the present moment, I think.
Like, boom!
You can't tell who's... Somebody had a thought, and I also had that same thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's happening now. It's happening right now. So I love the discussion. This is great.
Yeah, like so Theobroma cacao basically means food of the gods in Latin. Is that the Theobroma part, or like all together?
Yeah, the Theobroma part is food of the gods in Latin because only the chiefs could eat it, and they said that it was brought by the gods, the flying serpent.
Okay.
And so I forget the botanist. He's the most famous botanist is the guy that named it. But theobromine, the stimulant that's in it that gives you energy, that's in chocolate, is not based on the Latin food of the gods. That's a coincidence that it has theobromine in it.
Gotcha. And then that kind of like gets, a lot gets mixed up in words sometimes,
It's really hard because it has more theobromine than any other food. So for a really long time, I thought it was because of the theobromine in it, and apparently it's not. That's not why. It's just because it's food of the gods.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, alien.
So it seems totally connected.
It's ancient alien food that
Give me a break. Just call it alien food.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to think about how many different things and species have existed and not existed on this planet from. What they tell us, it's a fascinating story, really. Like, like here on the mainland, there's all this evidence of giant roaming land sloths, and so you have to like think about it and think about how that relates to the ecosystem now and what their footprint was, and like what stories that tells you, what the plants were doing in interaction with them, and what happened when they left. It's amazing, like how we can see it
Totally.
even in current times, like the passenger pigeons and the Carolina cockatoos, going extinct like 100 years ago, and the Carolina cockatoos were the only thing that ate the burrs, on the what is it? Not burdock, but there's the other. It's like not jumping in my head right now. It's another burr plant. And
Sure, like nettles or something.
it's a native plant, but it like never was such an aggressive plant until you took the cockle. It was the cocklebur. So yeah, the cockleburs were eaten by the Carolina cockatoos, and when the Carolina cockatoos left, this certain kind of burr became such a, more aggressive.
Shit.
Nothing was eating it. So
Oh shit.
things change and
That
evolve.
sucks.
I imagine there's some kind of fungus or something, that pops in. I don't know exactly what the current role is, like what else eats seeds, like something probably does. I mean, it's a resource in the environment. So things change and adapt and figure it out.
Yeah, I'd love to spend more time learning about the nature of North America, because I didn't really get into farming until I got into cacao. Until I came here, and I was like, oh, it's a thing.
Like
Like farming, of course. I was into like, computers and stuff, tech. And so now that I'm thinking about Indiana and like all the pawpaws and all the stuff that I missed, and like I was so stupid. Like I remember like learning what stinging nettles was, and like way too old, and like just didn't even know that they actually stung, like not knowing anything about any plant, and just feeling like a bankruptcy of natural knowledge, about where I was in North America, like my whole life. So now I'm like, oh, that would have been so cool, and it still could be, to be there and to know, because like, man, if you don't know the trees that are growing around your area, it's like you don't even know where you are,
Yeah, it'd be like, I compare it in my mind to if I went to Tokyo and I was walking around the city there and there's signs everywhere, like I wouldn't know what any of them said. And that's like how I imagine it would be being in a forest where I don't know the plants around me. And occasionally I do get a strong urge to put myself into a situation where I don't know the plants around me, just to freshen my mind, freshen the experience, It's like, it is nice to step off into a different ecosystem, climb up the mountain, climb down the valley, whichever it is, sail out into the waters, so many different ecosystems to take ourselves, and then we come back home and we see there's that tree that's outside of our place of we sleep every night most often, and it just like, it brings in a special feel and place and connection, and knowing not just like not necessarily even needing to know what its taxonomical scientific names are or whatnot, but knowing that it is like, and knowing what's it about, like that its seeds produce food, or its fruit produces food, or you can create structure from this material because you know it. You know how it can flex when you twist on it or pull this bark and strip it, and it makes this fiber or something. There's a connection. Or maybe your grandfather is like, planted it or something. Who knows? There's so many amazing ways to experience this world, and Hawaii,
I love that perspective, and I'm glad we're connecting on that. It's not a very common perspective, and I just want to let you know, like, I have pretty good validation, besides for what you told me, that when you put a seed in your mouth for, I believe it's 9 minutes before you plant it, you are actually giving your DNA to it. It reads what's in your saliva, and then it goes into the soil, and it pulls out what's missing in your DNA, and it grows literally for the person. And so the healthiest food that you can ever eat will always be food that you can grow yourself forever.
I love that. I mean, to me, it's like I've been calling it I can't decide yet. You guys can send me notes if anybody's listening to this part, that biological intelligence or ecological intelligence, kind of like the BI or the EI. And it's like, this information connection between everything. Often in our times, we've more heard people talk about trees communicating with mycelium in the soil. And that's just one vector. When you walk on that soil with your bare feet, especially, you're connecting into that. You're receiving information, and that whole ecosystem around you is receiving information about you. And if you have trees that have emotional feelings for you,
Yeah.
they're going to definitely dial into your electrical frequencies and generate fruit that has the nutrients like for you.
Yeah.
Not to be not necessarily like saying every food you get in a package is not good for you. Like that packaged food has gone into packaged mode. It will bring some
Right.
packaged mode to you. And,
Yeah.
and
That's right.
so it's fascinating to me, and like I love hearing about how you're, like how some of your feels are with that. I understand like you started a lot of the cacao trees from seed yourself, like more recent
Yeah.
ones, or
Yeah, we have some here, and then that we've started, and I have. Well, I mean, I guess you call it a nursery, but I don't have land. I rent, so I planted trees here, and they're not producing yet. But I've been picking in Pihikau for many years, and Ninole and Hamakua, and I picked in all over, and honestly. Oh man, the surgery definitely put an end to that. Like,
slow down.
man, okay. Yeah, like I don't know if you've ever tried harvesting your farm before you go for surgery, but it's just not that fun. So,
Yeah, I have no idea.
it's not.
Sounds.
Don't do it. Just, just, just do the surgery. You don't need to be farming at the same time. That's all I gotta say.
It sounds like a classic farmer pushing it story, though. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it was because I had lived in like tech society my whole life until I came and learned that was fake, and then I got hurt. Like,
Yeah, you got to learn how to move and do all the moving and flow in it. You finding your way in there, and I think it's really cool that you're connecting growers in the area and giving them purpose in what they're growing, and not you're not treating them like slaves or nothing either. You're like sharing the wealth that comes from the process, and I imagine respect the processes that you go through. I mean, that's a lot of work.
yeah. It's we're actually going to change up one of our processes because we realized it was too much work, and we'll be having to switch from supporting one or another farmers to another. But we've supported so many farmers at this point. I think we probably know. My partner and I know the chocolate and cacao out here better than even all of the farmers because they only try their own stuff. They don't taste each other's stuff.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, they don't even know how good their stuff is. They don't know how much to charge for it. And it's like, what are you doing? And they're all just like, well, Tom Sharkey told me to plant cacao. I was like, oh, well, I guess he told me to make it then. It's like a weird generational thing where I got here 20 years after he started doing that. Now everyone's ready.
That's amazing. I love that.
Make chocolate. Like, oh.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like we've gone through so much of the process. Like we've gone through some growing and harvesting stuff. Definitely dipped into fermenting. We didn't go into roasting a whole lot. I imagine it's similar to like roasting coffee beans, and that's something that concept's fairly familiar with people. But is there anything special with that?
It's a little bit easier. There's only like one or two steps. I think coffee has like a heat up, cool down, and a hold phase. It's like hold it at certain temperatures. And so in cacao bean roasting, it's just easier, but they both have the Maillard reaction. That's Maillard reaction. Yeah, that's when the chemicals change into the new flavors. They both have that, which it's a fancy word for cooking,
I love fancy words. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like that's where expand the poetry flows. This is what it's up, like of understanding of how the world connects, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
flavor is amazing. Flavor is 20% on our tongues. Our tongues are stupid, and our noses have 9,000 receptors. Our tongues have 5.
Yeah, and
So
do you recommend an app that helps you like understand flavors and scents? I don't, because it's all visual and audio on the zeros and ones. It doesn't seem like you can have an AI help you identify scent. I even sometimes wonder
there isn't one.
they only can understand that from our poetry. So that's what I'm getting into it with you.
Yeah.
I'm like saying, this, Chocolate Sommelier School. I know I don't say that right, but I want to. And that
That's
kind
right.
of learning these things helps us expand stuff about our flavors and be able to communicate them. I'm very fascinated just even in that concept and that focus, even that's crucial, really. That might be something that's expands our ability to pass on things through oral tradition, through the zeros and ones as well. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense. Smell is not something that computers have been able to figure out yet, or reproduce, or transmit. It's not like a microphone. You can't micro smells.
Yeah, can you imagine if I could, you could smell me right now, you'd be like, dude.
I think you should share that. You should post that smell.
Yes, it's like a scratch and sniff app or something. You scratch your phone and it makes the smell come out of it. You got to reload. You got to reload cartridges or something. There got to be some way they do it.
Exactly. So, it holds that special human thing, though. That's because, that's what you're saying. That was ones and zeros can't touch it.
Right. So yeah, get into that. Get into that. I'm huge on that. So in the process, though, back onto this, Focus Elf is then we got into making solids a bit, and that process where you're turning and spinning it for 30 hours. But then, I guess it gets to my last note, is you get into the packaging, and that's fun, and cutting them up and whatnot, and then the marketing. I'm super fascinated. It sounds like you got ideas on how that's going for you, and even as we're wrapping up the ceremony of this show, even it's I want to kind of bring in that ability for you to share a bit about your marketing and how people can connect with you and support what you're doing in more ways than others. I'm fascinated by the concept that you have ceremonial subscriptions so people could, easily support you and have cacao come to them, boom. Yeah, tell me a bit about marketing flows. Sell me some cacao.
Yeah. Well, people need to know why they need it, and they really don't want to hear just me rattle off a list of chemicals, and they don't want hippies. They don't want me to be all hippie either. Oh, you should have a ceremony. That doesn't work. What works is, it's the healthiest thing to drink after water. How hard is it to drink water? It's hard. It's hard to stay hydrated all day. But what if there was a backup?
I guess I'm going into with this marketing, everybody that's listening to this episode is just so curious. I know there's notes in the footnotes. Some people probably already dipped out to go connect into those. But what are there's a shop you guys have on the website. There's a shop they can purchase stuff. Mm-hmm. And then with the PonoCacoa org, can people connect and support through that as well?
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
buy
Thank
chocolate?
you. Yeah.
Beyond buying chocolate, helping,
I appreciate it. PonoCacoa is the non-for-profit. If you want to get certified slave-free or learn about certified slave-free chocolate, it's something you can go to find a list of over 200 brands that are all slave-free. ChocolateSommelierSchool.com is where you go to get certified as a chocolate sommelier and learn how to taste 1,200 flavors that are in chocolate, which will take you a long time. So I hope you like chocolate a lot. You're gonna have to eat it a lot.
Wow.
And then
What?
Island Sharks chocolate. Island Sharks chocolate is basically the home base, but it's also a small company. Our plan is to stay small because we pour every bar by hand. We don't have depositor machines. We wrap every bar by hand. We don't have a wrapping line. We don't have industrial equipment, and we don't have any investors. We literally pour and wrap every bar one at a time.
That's real, man. That's real.
Yeah. I want one of those on my voice.
Call in the elves.
Yeah, what do you
Call in
want?
the elves.
What do you want? Yeah, right.
Okay, guys, it's cool. Yeah, we were just like talking about your cool voices.
Where'd you get your voices, man? Those are cool.
There's like all these elves here that we crawl all around the place and just, we help tidy things up and put dust bunnies in different corners and, hide car keys and, put them out in the right time because, just got to make sure this guy's going in the right flow, doing things right, and like sometimes we just go ride on flying tree squirrels and just jump around and ride from one tree to the other, and sometimes we go sit on mushrooms, and sometimes we pick them and use them as umbrellas, and, we do all kinds of things. Yep. I even popped a tire last week. Did what? Shoot, man. Don't talk about that. We're on the recording right now. Oh.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. They do a lot of things.
A little mischievous, huh?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Man, I thought they were just little, I thought, I could get an upgrade on the UmpaLumpas and get some elves to make chocolate, but then I realized, oh, wait, I'm the elf. I make all the chocolate with my partner now, and
Yeah. And we're trying to do this
in the North Pole.
I mean, what do you think about in the certified slave-free? How do you feel Willy Wonka was with his UmpaLumpas? I mean, he's
So that is a beautiful approach to the subject, especially with the elfie intro. I think elves would probably prefer the work just to know that they were stepping in the way to advocate for human rights, because in the original Roald Dahl novel, the UmpaLumpas are essentially black children that live in Africa and are too stupid to know what money is, and so they work for chocolate.
That's what they say in there, pretty much, huh?
There's illustrations of them. They're pygmies. They're black pygmies, and he changed it for the movie because it was too racist, obviously.
Yeah.
And so that's why in this one, in the newest one, there's only one UmpaLumpa because you can't touch it now. It's too horrible.
Right.
And it's Hugh Grant. It's Hugh Grant, who people already don't like for whatever reason. Hugh Grant plays an UmpaLumpa because you don't want it to resemble the original. That's why.
Right.
It's not because it's a good casting. It's to distract people from it originally being black children. Now it's an old guy. And I mean, I don't know. I'm fine with Hugh Grant, but you can just leave him out. Just do Wonka, no UmpaLumpas. That's fine. They're, like I said, elves would elves would step in and be like, no. Those kids need to go to school. I will make the chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it was. We were trying to connect right before these holidays and stuff, and that's a whole nother elf realm. Sometimes I have just for fun, I have a problem with the stereotype North Pole elf, but it's just a whole other realm of elf silliness, so it's I only have a hard time with it just for fun, really.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't, I don't identify with a North Pole elf. But what I mean? There's certain things I do like to make toys and craft things with my hands. So I get it, it's but I wouldn't want to go work there. If I was, it would probably, it wouldn't get the certification that you were wanting because it'd be forced labor.
Well, depends how old you are, I guess, as an elf. There's adult elves,
I like naughty people just as much as good people, So it's I don't know. I think the whole protocol that happens there gets a little strange to me, the duality of it sometimes, But there's probably some things there, that are even, infusions of different cultures and historical happenings that created the whole concept of what it is, and you know.
Yeah, there's the thing. I'm not sure it's true. You might say it's a conspiracy, but according to it, the Lord of the Rings elves are based on the Order of the Golden Dawn elves, which is the elves that are in the Bible. That is the Bible of the Rothschild family, the Bible of the Illuminati, which apparently is maybe the real Bible. Which means that, according to them, Lord of the Rings is history.
Wow, yeah. I mean, the one thing I don't know, like, I understand that Tolkien took a lot of his mythos in that story from the Yggdrasil tree, which is the tree of the world, and how people pre-Christian Europeans would have seen the world as a tree called the Yggdrasil tree, and different times there's different realms. There's different realms where the giants live. There was light elves. There was dark elves. And they all had their different mythos and lands. There was all these different things. There was a serpent wrapped around the base of the earth too, like in the roots of the tree, which is fascinating. Cool. You can see like the head of the serpent on Google Earth. If you look at it.
Yeah, that thing is insane. What is that?
It's like it's in these mythos, from these other times.
Yeah, for sure.
And the place that humans live, according to these mythos, was called Midgard, and he calls it Middle Earth. And he takes a lot of these different things. There's the land of the gnomes and the dwarves, and they lived inside the mountains, and even created all these characters based around these old mythos. And probably not till more recently have I heard connections being told of the biblical side of things into that realm. As far as I know, but I don't really know everything, of course. I'm not a huge scholar on Lord of the Rings or something, but like...
That was pretty good. That's like my limit. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know who Melchior is.
I don't remember.
He's in it. He's in it. He's one of the guys.
Nice. Melchior.
Those angels and sub-angels.
Yeah.
Melchior is one of them, I think, maybe. It's cool.
I don't remember. I remember lots of like cool wizards, and I sometimes feel like Gandalf just in how I get to go from these different worlds a lot. I'll go and hang out in the Shire with some hobbits, and then I'll go and hang out with some elves in some deep forest, and go hang out with some food forest creatures on the Hawaiian island for a little bit, and then get to work with some mischievous little rodent creatures somewhere else, doing some things, and I love life.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating world.
Yeah.
Subculture.
Yeah, I love how you put it in perspective of Gandalf too. Like I never really thought of him as the main character, but I really like that idea.
I do remember a couple of things from him, like that I employ a lot. I'm never late anymore since I've learned from him that a wizard is never late. They always show up precisely when they intend to.
Nice. And that's awesome.
That's an amazing self mantra, even to get yourself into what I call like the flow, of the present moment, where I'm in the right place kind of feel. And a lot of times we're projected on from outside of us how we should feel about our timeliness, or what that expectation is, like the hustle and bustle of doing something I got something on the schedule, the itinerary or something. It's like, can you get into it though? And then you're late somewhere on it away, and it's like it throws your whole mental state off, and you gotta go have another cacao ceremony or something to bring it all back together or something.
Yeah, it can be really helpful for that. And in a cacao ceremony, you might do some hape, you might have some tobacco, you might have some cacao in a ayahuasca ceremony, you might have cacao in a San Pedro ceremony. So it's one of the 4, I would say, major plants in South America that are used for ceremony: tobacco, cacao, ayahuasca, and San Pedro, and then probably mushrooms, and then lesser known stuff that I don't know what it's called. It might not have an English translation, but the stuff that comes from the Amazon, like cacao, is all very medicinal, whereas like Africa produces like food. But South America just generally seems to be kind of like a hospital jungle, like for like your psyche, like,
For real,
that's
yeah.
like that. Yeah, like
I think a big part too is the connection to nature it's like very fresh there and strong, and like, I mean, my ancestors, I can't remember like being connected to a forest that I'm from. I've been to, some of my ancestral lands and like felt the connections, but I don't know. I grew up around here, it's like, okay, there's stories going back here, and it's like, I think it's cool that I know this tree for 16 years or something, right? But like,
yeah, that's awesome.
like imagine,
Where'd you
imagine
go?
what it's like to be somewhere where there's people who are like looking at trees and be like, yeah, my family's come to this tree for the last 1,000 years or something. That's fascinating to me, and
so
like
fascinating.
that depth, and that's why I feel that, not to give any sort of logical reason, I feel like everybody's wisdom is important, but that indigenous wisdom that's still connected to their place is so powerful and important to me right now, and my desire to be connected in the ecosystem and be a part of it and learn how to be a part of it, not just a observer or a resource extractor. And really being a part of it, like, yeah, it's trying to find the way there, and there's so much wisdom in those ancient forests of the Amazon and people that have lived there for a long time in their ways. And
I think that North America though really has a lot to offer still. Like partly when I came out here, I learned about a thing called pristine land, which is land that just has never been worked at all. And I don't know if there's a lot of that in North America, but I bet you there's some. And I think that in order for us to have those connections to the land that tie us to our place and stuff, we need to have some areas that are just not developed.
Man, I'll tell you, in the working and landscaping kind of situations, like in the Midwest and other places for sure, some of the most fascinating places where I can say I would feel there's fairy realms even are those places behind people's houses and yards and whatnot where nobody goes. There's like a fence in their backyard, a fence in their neighbor's backyard, and a little stream going through it. It's the place where kids, can still kind of go and crawl around. There might be some forts, maybe an old washing machine that's got moss growing out of it or something. Those kind of places are freaking fascinating place to like find and connect and like see how the earth is bringing plants to those places that are beneficial to those families and homes around them, whether they know it or not. They're there, and how the birds are planting, the wild things are planting, and the kids are planting things, all the things that are being wild and they're creating and planting those things. And to me, that's almost like as powerful as finding myself in a pristine, untouched nature forest. You're in a place where people have existed with the forest, and you can see, just like so many old herbalist sayings of the herbs that you need are growing right around you. And so often it's so true. And yeah, it's fascinating to find that into those kind of spaces.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It reminds me of what you're talking about when you're saying the trees around you are something you connect to, but not necessarily their scientific name, because there's a story about a time when everyone knew the name of every tree, and people were able to tell stories about all the trees to each other, and that was how we maybe told our stories. That was maybe the library was actual trees, not books.
Many languages originated from the names of the plants around them.
Dang, I didn't know that. Well, yeah, plants are everything, and mycelium is the thing connecting all the plants. Like, that's pretty impressive stuff. And cacao is just like, hey, I'm here too. And I think that, as herbalism gets more popular, so will the ceremonial aspects of drinking it, because plants are great, but when they take you to a ceremonial place, you appreciate them more, and then you can appreciate their medicinal benefit more. And then when you go out in nature, you want to know who they are because you appreciate them. And I would like to get to know more plants personally, but planting them is relatively hard. Planting trees is relatively hard, and if you rent, it's hard. And I think that partly the rental system exists to keep people from planting anything.
I mean, there's definitely like epic situation of annual crops, kind of taking over the concept of what people are farming, and that kind of comes from a whole entire history of people being at war with each other, and you can take your annual crop seeds and go somewhere else and start over right away, you see. But when you put in your fruit trees and things like that, your nut trees, and build like a connection in the forest, and then the whole forest is growing for you, it kind of makes you really resilient in a certain way. But that's also something that's caused problems in the past when enemies would come and take out certain food sources and take them away from you, and then force you to move, and you got to start all over again. So yeah, it's back into the annuals. And yeah, it's an amazing luxury to be in a time period in which a person has the capacity to hang out with a forest long enough to grow and be a part of it again. And not everybody's going to be able to have that kind of situation, and that I'd even call it a privilege, for sure, to be able to connect with a forest and to plant something and have hope is...
Oh yeah,
that's a dream. It's a dream, and there's definitely ways to do it and integrate it. The wild things are planting things and to be wild, and I encourage that everywhere in between the sidewalk cracks and all the places. Just in between places, plant things and things will mow. I mean, even on my land here, I probably planted 1,000 things and had thousands of things die along the way because I didn't plant the right thing, or it wasn't in the right place, or the soil wasn't the right situation or something. But the plants kept communicating with me and be like, yo bro, you gotta put me down there where it's a little warmer. You saw what happened last winter, that spot gets cold. And other plants being like, hey, I like the cold spot, I'll take it, let them move in.
Yeah. That's so cool.
That indigenous wisdom of place and time and people knowing these things over generations is so you can't pay for it, you can't click on it, you can't buy it,
Exactly.
It's non-proprietary, you don't need a subscription.
Damn. Gosh, when you say it like that, it's so obvious. It's
See, we've been rolling with these people on these flows and the words. I'm really getting into it now. I'm talking to it, but I want to just check in with you while we wrap this up. Is there any other things that you find really important that you'd love to share with us before we close out the show?
Yeah, I think that you are on it, Sir Andy of Elfdom, because when you are in a position to appreciate the things you have, that's when life is really good. And having land, this is what I want to share, is a birthright. It's a birthright that we're all denied constantly every day. We have water, we have air, some of us have water, some of us have food, some of us have shelter, but we're all denied our birthright of land. And it's because it's deliberate, and it's because it breaks the connection. And so I think that we're all born into a world that's denying us of our human rights. And that's the problem, I think. But you, sir, do not have this problem. I am very impressed that you've managed to grow all those trees and learn all that about the land, because that means you know a lot about yourself. That's great. That's admirable, Socrates says an unexamined life is not worth living, so... admirable.
Even on the thoughts, I just feel like I wanted to share this little thoughts in this stream. When I say my land, I don't say it like I own it any more than when I say my people. I don't like when I say my people, like I don't make any claim of ownership. I mean, come on, you know, like if anything, like the land that I live on, I'm owned by it, you know, I had a moment where I was like stressing about paying mortgage or something, you know, like I do my thing like every month, like month to month, make sure I keep it all coming through. And you know, this one day I was out there just meditating with the land, asking it for ways to help me like connect and be a good farmer and steward it in a way that allows me to be here and be present with it. And it just started laughing. It's like, you don't have to worry about it. We got you, you know, like we're going to be here long after you're here anyway. And like, you know, we like you while you're alive being here. So like, don't worry about it. It'll work out. And honestly, like, I mean, like I said, I've been here for 16 years and somehow I've like stressed about the mortgage every single month for 16 years, just like anybody would on paying rent or something. And like, somehow I've made it work and I give thanks.
Yeah. I'm thankful for you. I'm happy for you. I'm thankful that we get to connect and I get to learn this about you. You know, I appreciate your personality, but your level of gratitude is really admirable. Like, it's hard. You have to work for that. You know, you have to literally cultivate your gratitude level. It's not, you're not just automatically that grateful person, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's nice. Like, when you meet people who are grateful for what they have, because like, that's something else that's like impossible to click on. Like, when's the last time you saw an ad that was like, grateful for everything you have? Click here.
Yeah, imagine. I mean, if it had, it would probably like go to something and be like, "Are you sure you're grateful about this or this or this?"
Exactly. Or did you just click just to see what this was?
Are you really grateful, or are you just saying that you are because it's trendy?
Yeah, because actually I have some stuff I want to sell you.
Yeah, buy this; it'll help you increase your grateful points.
Exactly. Your gratefulness will increase by 10 if you buy my shit.
Shoot, man. Thank you so much for shooting it up, like cutting it up here. It's been such a good time. I'm gonna like make some of the ceremonial cacao rose blend that you mixed with me after we get off of here. Everybody, give a round of applause. Ethan Swift cutting it up with us for a good amount of time here. We're having so much fun talking like cacao and the realms and life and connections in the ecosystem. Appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you too. Hey, this is a long time in the making. Thank you very much. This is an amazing podcast. I really appreciate it.
That was so cool. I loved it. We cut it up for an hour and 50-something minutes. Yeah,